If you're over 65 or you have a parent, spouse, or neighbor who is, I need you to watch this entire video because this summer's heat waves across the US and Europe have already pushed hospitals to see a real spike in heat-related emergencies. And the people showing up aren't always who you'd expect. It's not just people working outside in the sun. It's people sitting quietly in their own homes, in rooms without air conditioning, who didn't realize how much danger they were actually in until it was almost too late. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly why aging bodies handle heat so differently, the early warning signs that get missed far too often, which common medications quietly raise the risk, what to actually do if you suspect heat stroke is happening, and how to heat-proof a home even without central air conditioning. This is a longer video than usual, and that's intentional. This is one of those topics where the details genuinely matter. Let's start with the basics, because a lot of the danger here comes down to a simple mix-up, confusing heat exhaustion with heat stroke. They sound similar, but they are not the same thing, and treating one like the other can cost precious time. Heat exhaustion is the body's warning stage. Heavy sweating, cold or clammy skin, a fast but weak pulse, nausea, headache, and muscle cramps. It's serious, but at this stage, the body is still managing to cool itself down, mainly through sweat. Heat stroke is what happens when that cooling system fails entirely. Body temperature climbs above 103 degrees Fahrenheit. The skin can become hot, red, and dry because the person has stopped sweating. The pulse becomes rapid and strong, and confusion, slurred speech, or even loss of consciousness can follow. Heat stroke is a medical emergency, full stop. It requires immediate cooling and immediate medical attention because at this point, the body is no longer capable of protecting itself. Now, here's the part that makes this especially important for anyone over 65. Aging bodies are simply less equipped to prevent that shift from happening in the first place. There are several physiological reasons for this, and understanding them is what makes the rest of this video make sense. First, the sweat response weakens with age. Sweat glands become less responsive, and older adults often begin sweating later and produce less of it, even in serious heat, which means one of the body's primary cooling mechanisms is already operating at a disadvantage. Second, thirst sensation declines. This is one of the most underappreciated risk factors out there. As we age, the body's signal to drink water when it's dehydrated becomes weaker and less reliable. So a person can already be significantly dehydrated without ever consciously feeling thirsty. Third, circulation changes. Aging blood vessels are less able to dilate efficiently, which limits how well the body can move heat from its core to the skin's surface to be released. Fourth, and often overlooked, is that many older adults are living with chronic conditions, heart disease, diabetes, kidney disease, or lung conditions that place extra strain on the very systems the body relies on to regulate temperature during heat stress. And fifth, mobility limitations matter more than people think. Someone who has difficulty getting up, walking to another room, or opening a window because of arthritis or balance issues may simply be less able to physically respond to rising heat, even if they recognize they're overheating. Let's talk about medications next, because this is one of the least discussed pieces of this entire topic, and it's genuinely important. A significant number of medications commonly prescribed to older adults interfere with the body's ability to regulate temperature, sometimes in ways that aren't obvious at all. Diuretics, often prescribed for high blood pressure or heart failure, increase fluid loss through urination, which can quietly compound dehydration during hot weather. Beta blockers, another extremely common blood pressure medication, can reduce blood flow to the skin, limiting the body's ability to release heat efficiently. Anticholinergic medications, which include certain drugs for overactive bladder, some antihistamines, and some medications for Parkinson's disease, can actually reduce sweating directly, removing one of the body's main defenses against overheating. Antipsychotic medications and certain antidepressants have also been associated with impaired temperature regulation. And ACE inhibitors, while generally considered heart protective, can affect the body's thirst and fluid balance mechanisms in ways that matter more during extreme heat. None of this means anyone should stop taking a prescribed medication. That decision should only ever be made with a doctor. What it does mean is that if you or a loved one are on any of these medication types, it's worth being extra cautious during heat waves. And it's a completely reasonable thing to bring up with a pharmacist or physician. Given the medications I'm on, is there anything I should be doing differently during hot weather? So, what does heat stroke actually look like in real life, especially in an older adult? This is where I want you to pay very close attention because the signs often get missed, not because they're subtle, but because they get explained away as something else. The first sign to watch for is a body temperature of 103 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, though you won't always have a thermometer handy, so watch for the physical signs alongside it. Hot, red, and unusually dry skin is a major red flag. Remember, at this stage, sweating has often stopped. A rapid, strong pulse is another key sign, along with a throbbing headache. But the sign that gets missed most often, and this is the one I most want you to remember, is confusion. Slurred speech, disorientation, agitation, or a sudden change in behavior during hot weather is very often mistaken for just being tired. Or in older adults specifically, it's sometimes mistaken for a symptom of dementia or simply having an off day. This mistake can cost critical time. If an older adult suddenly seems confused, unusually irritable, or not quite themselves on a hot day, heat stroke should be on the list of things to rule out immediately, not something considered after everything else has been checked. If you do suspect heat stroke is happening, in yourself or someone else, here's what actually needs to happen, and the order matters. Call 911 immediately. This is not a wait and see situation. Heat stroke can cause organ damage within minutes, and it needs emergency medical response. While waiting for help to arrive, move the person to a cooler location if at all possible. Indoors, into shade, anywhere out of direct sun. Remove any unnecessary clothing to help the body release heat. Begin cooling the body as quickly as possible. Cool water on the skin, a cool, damp cloth on the neck, armpits, and groin, where blood vessels sit close to the surface. Or, if available, immersing the person in cool water. Do not give the person fluids to drink if they are confused, disoriented, or losing consciousness because of the risk of choking. Hydration comes once medical professionals are involved and it's safe to do so. Stay with the person and monitor their condition until help arrives. These few minutes of action before paramedics arrive can meaningfully change the outcome. Now, let's shift to something more preventative, because most of this is genuinely avoidable with the right precautions. And this matters especially for anyone without central air conditioning, which is a huge number of older adults living on fixed incomes. If there's no AC in the home, box fans and portable fans can help, but it's worth knowing their limits. Once the air temperature climbs into the high 90s alongside high humidity, fans alone can actually make things worse rather than better because they're just circulating hot air across the skin. In those conditions, wet cloths on the skin combined with a fan, or cool, not ice cold showers or baths, are far more effective at actually lowering body temperature. Keeping blinds and curtains closed during the hottest part of the day blocks a significant amount of heat from entering a room in the first place. Staying on the lowest floor of a home, since heat rises, can make a real difference too. Every community with significant heat risk typically has designated cooling centers. Libraries, community centers, senior centers, or shopping malls that are open to the public specifically as a place to escape the heat for a few hours. And knowing the nearest one before a heat wave hits, rather than during one, is a smart precaution. Hydration matters constantly, not just when thirsty, given what we covered earlier about reduced thirst sensation in older adults. Water throughout the day and avoiding alcohol and excessive caffeine, which both contribute to dehydration. And timing matters. Limiting any outdoor activity, including simple errands, to early morning or evening hours, when temperatures are lowest, rather than midday. If you're the adult child, neighbor, or friend of someone older who lives alone, I want to talk directly to you for a moment, because you play a bigger role in this than you might realize. Heat-related deaths disproportionately affect older adults who live alone, and a huge factor in that isn't lack of awareness, it's lack of anyone checking in. A phone call once or twice a day during a heat wave, even just a quick, "How are you feeling? Is your place staying cool enough?" can catch a problem early, before it becomes an emergency. If you notice someone seems unusually confused, sluggish, or off during a hot stretch, don't wait to see if it passes. Treat it seriously and check on them in person if you can. And if a loved one doesn't have air conditioning and is reluctant to leave the house, gently encouraging a visit to a cooling center, or even inviting them to spend the hottest days at your place, if that's an option, can be one of the most protective things you do for them all summer. Before we wrap up, let's clear up a few myths, because they tend to give people false confidence at exactly the wrong moment. Myth 1. It has to be extremely hot outside for heat stroke to happen. Not true. High humidity dramatically increases the danger even at moderate temperatures because humidity prevents sweat from evaporating, which is how the body actually cools itself. A 90-degree day with high humidity can be more dangerous than a 100-degree day with low humidity. Myth 2. Heat stroke only happens to people outside in the sun. Also not true. A large number of heat stroke cases, especially in older adults, happen indoors, in homes without adequate cooling, sometimes over the course of several days rather than a single afternoon. Myth 3. If I'm not thirsty, I'm not dehydrated. As we covered earlier, this is particularly unreliable in older adults, whose thirst signal weakens with age. By the time thirst is felt, dehydration may already be underway. And myth 4. A fan is enough to stay safe in any heat. As covered above, fans lose their effectiveness once temperatures and humidity both climb high enough, and relying on one alone during an extreme heat event can create a false sense of security. Heat waves are becoming more frequent and more intense, and that makes this information more relevant every single year, not less. The encouraging part is that heat stroke is highly preventable when the risk is taken seriously early. Most of what protects against it isn't complicated or expensive. It's about awareness, a bit of preparation, and someone checking in. If this video was useful to you, please share it with someone it could actually help. A parent, a grandparent, an elderly neighbor, or anyone spending this summer without reliable air conditioning. If you want more videos like this, practical, evidence-based health information for older adults and the people who care for them, subscribe because there's more coming. Stay cool, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.